everyone, thanks for coming out for this week's garden tour. I don't have a whole lot of flowers happening this week, but there's still a lot of exciting changes, so we'll go look around. One really good thing that I love about all this rainy weather is that my rain barrels are getting really full. Let's go look at those first. There's not really a good way for me to show you how full they are. I normally just walk up to them and kind of push on them and see how hard it is for me to tip them. If they're heavy, then obviously they're full of water, and that's my very scientific method of trying to see if they're full or not. I do have this rain gauge here that sits on this first barrel, and it's showing full, and this barrel is really heavy, so I know that that's correct. However, it doesn't work for the whole system. For the rain gauge to work correctly, every single barrel would have to be perfectly level. If the barrels were perfectly level, since they're plumbed from the bottom, the water level would rise evenly between all the barrels at the same time. But since they're not level, different barrels fill up faster than other barrels. This is the second barrel. That's pretty full. Number 3, that's full. Number 4 is full. Let's check some of these. This one is maybe halfway full. Same with that one. That one's full. Eventually they'll all fill up, and that's all that matters. The garden is looking very green and lush after all this rain, and we're still expecting to get some more tomorrow. The blooms are very heavy and drooping because they're very wet right now from the rain, so it'll look much better when it dries off. I do need to get in here and prune all these spent blooms off. That'll help it produce more buds and focus on the next flush, which I do have some buds coming in. These cool weather flowers are doing well. These snapdragons are going to need netting on them very soon. These pots right here have chrysanthemums that I saved from last year. I'm not really sure if these are supposed to be cold hardy. When we got frost and freezes, they did die back all the way down, and I've cut them off, and they actually came back. These varieties are specifically for cut flowers. They get these nice tall stems on them for cutting. They will need support at some point. I've never grown mums before. I don't really know how well to take care of them, so I'll keep you posted. This row of strawflower and asters have really perked up since the last time you saw them. They did not like being transplanted, but now they look better. I can go through here, get these weeds out of there, and I'll just need to prune off all the foliage that died. That'll help them recover faster too. The ornamental grass in the back still looks pretty nice. This is the first row of tomatoes. I am starting to get fruit on some of my plants. I have to confess that I still have not put up trellises on my tomato rows. That probably needs to happen this week, or I'm going to have broken plants, and that'll make me really sad, so maybe this time I'll actually do it. It's starting to rain, so Skelly and I are gonna run inside. Come on, Skelly! Okay, it is the next day, and we have a break in the rain, so I'm gonna see how much more of this garden tour I can show you. This is the third row of tomatoes, and I do have one ranunculus that decided to bloom. So pretty, this buttercup yellow. I think that's the only one I have. This one's here, but I don't see any shoots yet. The sage is looking good and really likes the rain. And the whole garden likes the rain. You'll just notice how lush and green everything looks. The pumpkins and squash are still looking good. They transplanted well, and I'm guessing they'll take off here soon. This is a zucchini. This is a Gerardelle blue pumpkin. There's another pumpkin, a Cinderella pumpkin. This one's getting real big already. It's a fairy tale pumpkin. This is the same variety. This bed with all the calendula in it is starting to take off. I have plenty of blooms on here and buds. So maybe in a day or two I'll have a nice flush of these that I can cut for my arrangements. Now on the end of this bed I have kale, and I did plant a couple marigolds. This is a different variety. It's a lot shorter. Right here I have a bachelor's button. It might flower soon. The peppers and eggplants are looking good. Some of these even have little fruits on them. The eggplant haven't quite established yet. They still look okay, but they haven't really put on any growth. The Swiss chard is looking pretty happy. Here's the Strawberry Hill rose, and just like the other roses, it needs pruned. These blooms are spent. It's still so pretty. Look at that. Orange center. I can't figure out how to use my camera yet. My gimbal is still a mystery to me. Okay, can you tell what this is? I'm so excited to show you this. Hi, you finally made it. I'm so excited. The sweet peas have finally arrived. We finally have sweet peas. I've been waiting all spring for these. And you'll see that they come up off of this vine and they'll put off these nice stems that are really great for cut flowers. Such pretty colors. On this half of the bed I have zinnias and cosmos, and you'll notice these are planted super close together. I'm going to have to thin these out, but what I'll probably do is just take one bloom off of some of these and cut the whole plant out. But it's the only spot I had, and I didn't want to throw them away into my compost pile, so I put them here. This is the Desdemona rose. It doesn't have any blooms on it because after the last flush I pruned them all off. But all these red parts right here are new growth. I'm not sure how long it'll take to get more buds on it, but we'll watch and find out. This poor rose is the one with all the leaf spot on it. I cut it back almost all the way down to the ground. There's a few branches left on it, but hardly at all. I might lose this plant, but it was highly diseased, so that's just a risk you take with pruning something this much. But it does have red on it, which is new growth. So we'll see if it bounces back or not. There are more cosmos and zinnia seedlings here. And I have pinched these right here. I've cut the main growing stalk out of the center so I get a branch right here. That does delay how soon it'll bloom, but you'll get a much nicer, easier to manage plant that way. The celosia is looking nice. They're just such small seedlings right now. I can't wait for you guys to see how much they grow over the next few months. The stalk have really established and taken off since the last time you've seen them. I need to get netting on these soon, but they've really put on a lot of growth. Potatoes at the end of this bed, and then peas. I need to harvest the peas really bad. There's a ton on there. I would say the majority of the dahlias have sprouted up. In a previous video, I told you how I had some dahlia tubers that I got in the mail, and I let them sit in their box for too long without opening them, and they were really dry. I was pretty certain they weren't going to grow, but it looks like I was wrong because almost all of them have sprouted. Let me show you. Here they are. I'm so excited that these came up. This variety right here is called Cafe au Lait, and it's the most beautiful dinner plate dahlia. It's used very heavily in bridal arrangements and bridal bouquets, and it just has this really pretty blush pink color. And then this variety down here on the end is called Cafe au Lait Rose, which is a pinker variety of that. This here is a snowball viburnum, and I actually have 6 or 7 of these planted. A friend took cuttings from her plants and gave them to me. When I planted them, I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but they all have established and they have green leaves on them, and actually they've already bloomed. I didn't get any shots or pictures of that. Here's another one. I'm excited this worked. I love that you can take cuttings from friends' plants and just share instead of having to order some of this stuff online and it come in packaging. Sharing plants locally with your friends has to be the most environmentally friendly way of getting plants. I haven't talked much about my perennials yet. That's because I'm just establishing them and it's really hard to show them because they don't look like much right now. Here are the potato plants. Some of them have recovered well, and some of them I might go in and cut out. This has a little bit of green on it, but it's very diseased and I don't want it spreading to my other plants. I was looking over here. This right here is definitely smushed down. Kind of looks like something got into there. I don't know, can we blame Scully? I'm trying to be really patient, but my snow puff cosmos are looking really small and puny. I don't know if they're gonna grow much in the next month or so. I really hope that they do. Here they are. They're very small and wimpy. I might go ahead and just sow some more seeds, maybe direct sow outside or start some seedlings indoors in case these fail. Here are my remaining seedlings. Have eucalyptus. This is called sea holly. I have leftovers of celosia. These are my bachelor's buttons. And I have more baby's breath, nigella pods, a lot of herbs, a whole flat full of calendula. These are all carnations. So as you can see, there are a lot of seedlings left. And unfortunately, I really don't know what I'm gonna do with these. Most of the herbs I planned on putting out front, and I do have a spot for the bachelor's buttons. I'm going to intermix those with the squash because the squash are vining and low to the ground and the bachelor's buttons are tall. So those should be okay to put together. And this is what happens when you plant more seeds than you need. At the same time, I'm also a person that hates throwing away seedlings into the compost, but I might have to because they're not gonna survive in these plant trays much longer. I'm really hoping to find somewhere to put the eucalyptus. Everything else, I'm just really, I don't know. Probably compost, but I'm not willing to admit that quite yet. These are all hydrangeas that I have potted up. The variety is called PG. I got these for about $5 a piece on the Arbor Day Foundation, which I'll link below. The Arbor Day Foundation has fantastic prices on bare root perennials, such as hydrangeas. You can get boxwood. They're small and they're bare root and they'll take a few years to look really nice, but the price point you just can't beat. I love that you're supporting a foundation. You can get really affordable perennial plants for your garden. Oh, and trees too. I'm so happy with the way these willows are growing and turning out. They probably have at least 2 feet of growth on a lot of them, so maybe even this fall and winter I'll get to make a few wreaths. This planter right off the patio is super happy with all the rain, all the kale and dill and Swiss chard here, marigolds along the front. I did add a very small blueberry plant. Right now, since it's so small, it's not a big deal that all these annuals are planted in with it. But as it gets bigger, I can cut back on those so it has more space and it's not overcrowded. These garden boxes I haven't shown you before. They have hellebores in them, which is a really pretty flower that tolerates shade. I've got a Tabasco pepper, marigolds, ferns, and blueberries. I know that's a lot, but the ferns and the hellebores can grow in the understory of the blueberry plants as they get bigger. This is called a Japanese painted fern, really pretty purple veins. Here's a different variety of fern, and a third one. This bed right here has more peppers all along the perimeter. I've left this big gap here right in the middle because soon, within the next couple weeks, I should be getting my sub pod in the mail, which is a vermicompost system. So as soon as I get that, I'll be sure to make a video so you guys can see. This pepper right here has a little baby on it. It's so cute. Lots of flowers and lots of fruit already happening. I want to show you one more thing before we go. That's the biggest mess ever. This is the pile of old fence panels, scrap decking, and everything that I've saved. And I plan on using this to build more garden boxes like the one right off our patio and the one that has the potatoes, but it's just taking a really long time. I've always said that I've wanted to use reclaimed materials to build things, but now I know what it's really like to go through all this stuff. It's probably hard to tell from looking at all this, but I really do hate messes. I would rather find ways to use it in my garden than throw it into the landfill. Hopefully I get to using it before it rots in this big pile in the middle of our yard. Honestly, I did not work on this as much as I told myself I was going to over the winter. I was able to build about 10 boxes. Actually, I built 13 boxes. That doubled the capacity of the garden. Slowly over the summer, I hope to work on it more. There is one more box that I do have to build for this season, and that's one for my sweet potatoes, but that's probably gonna be the last one for the season. Like, we got lucky, and the rain did hold out for us long enough so that we could finish up our tour. I hope you had fun and enjoyed looking at all the flowers and the vegetables, and see you next week. Bye. Seed trays. Oh gosh, look at this stuff. I've left it out in the rain. Here's more of my mess. I know this pile really looks like a mess, but this cardboard is perfect for smothering out weeds. And a little trick, if you're having trouble getting the tape off of it, let it sit out in the rain and then it'll get wet and soggy and the tape will peel right off. There are more seed trays I need to pick up all the way at the back of the garden. Yep, more cardboard. It's just mulch. Ooh, there is more mess over here. I really need to clean all this up. Should probably put these seed trays away. The seed trays are like everywhere. This is just a springtime problem. Welcome to a very cold and rainy garden.